Good morning, good evening, and good day. As we have more than 400 people registered for this event, and we are totally excited today to present this event for you guys. Welcome everyone for the first episode with in Coffee with Konesh, and this is an effort created by Lodestone just to educate people around the world on Canadian immigration and related topics. So we will be having a lot of professionals from multiple backgrounds, multiple industries down the line to discuss about Canadian immigration. This is purely to educate people around the world to make conscious decisions on Canadian immigration and just to clarify their doubts and the questions what they have. So we will be having a chat window in the webinar. You can ask the questions over there. We'll try to address it with the short time we have. And if you have any questions after the session, you can email us to info at lodestoneImmigration.com. So we will give that information also once the event is over. So let me introduce myself. I'm Koneshwaran Thurirasa. I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant registered with ICCRC, our regulatory body. I practiced as an RCIC under Lodestone Immigration Services for the past 4 years. And today we have Suresh Srikandaraja, a business and a technology lawyer with us today to discuss on business immigration. Business immigration it's a vast topic. So we are not going to focus on every aspect of it. We'll be going part by part. This will be a series of discussions down the line. But today we'll be focusing only on a startup visa, and Suresh will give us a lot more details about that. So please introduce yourself, Suresh, in your area expertise of what makes you a best fit uh, in the business immigration.
Thank you very much, Konesh, for having me. I really look forward to this event to share some legal information with the audience. My name is, as you introduced, Suresh Srikandaraja. I'm a business and technology lawyer with Suresh Law. And Suresh Law focuses primarily on business and technology law, everything from helping the entrepreneur start a business to by incorporating and shareholder agreements and go through the various stages of growth. So as part of serving the business, we also do business immigration. And so that's why I'm thrilled today to be able to speak about the business immigration process with the focus, as you said, about the startup visa program in Canada, because that's a relatively new program that a lot of entrepreneurs worldwide are interested in. So I thought it would be a great fit to speak about that program. And just to give a little bit about background about myself, I have a background in engineering, MBA, and law. So I started my career working for leading technology companies such as Microsoft and Amazon after during my engineering program time. And once I graduated, I did an MBA program. And during that time, I worked with business incubators in the Waterloo region where I helped technology companies start up and thrive. And I was also teaching the entrepreneurship program as well. And then my work with various entrepreneurs, and also I have done my own startups as well, it propelled me to pursue a career in law. And I want to focus on business and technology law to be able to serve the same entrepreneur ecosystem. So this led me to complete my law degree. And throughout my career, I have worked for leading technology companies, held various executive roles at businesses. And today I am proud to say that I'm able to offer these business legal services to startups through Suresh Law. And in addition to that, I'm part of a business incubator called Mosaic Lab, where we help technology startups thrive. And I'm also an executive at a technology and supply chain company called CSI. So this puts me in a unique position to be able to understand the business landscape in Canada, because I bring the legal, business, and technical elements to my practice, which is helpful and unique to my clients. So with that background, I'd like to share some information that's relevant to today's discussion.
Perfect, perfect. So you have a vast experience that definitely makes you the best fit for this business immigration.
Yes.
Suresh,
So
tell me about
go
like
ahead. Sorry.
what business immigration and how does the startup visa program work for our viewers?
Yes, I'll be happy to talk a little bit about the business immigration program and also in particular the startup visa. So, and just to keep in mind, the information that I shared today is general legal information. This should not be construed as legal advice. For that, I invite you to contact me at a later time to review case by case to provide any legal advice. But here, I'm just trying to focus on providing general legal information. And as we spoke about it, there are different types of business immigration programs that exist in Canada, both at a provincial level and federal level. And these vary from some of them focusing on the skills, specialized skills that professionals bring to the country. For example, in technology sector, where we may be lacking certain skills and Canada needs more specialized skill sets, so we bring through that. Then there's also programs for entrepreneurs and corporations. And these programs exist at the provincial level primarily throughout the different provinces in Canada. But the program I wanted to focus on today is the Startup Visa program that's available across Canada in all the provinces except the province of Quebec. And this program was created about 8 years ago as a pilot program, but only 3 years ago that it became a permanent program. The Immigration, Refugee and Citizenship Canada, IRCC, created this program. And the goal of the Startup Visa program is to target immigrant entrepreneurs with the skills and potential to build businesses in Canada that are innovative, that can create jobs for Canadians, and it can also compete on a global scale. So these were the goals, the primary goals that the government of Canada wanted to achieve by creating the Startup Visa program. So if we look at how the program works, basically the government has delegated some of its responsibilities to other organizations, they call them designated organizations, to sort of do the pre-screening. So there's 3 types of organizations that are designated to do this pre-screening. So first is the angel investors group, second is the venture capital funds, and third is the business incubators. So their job is to work with the startup companies or the applicant to pre-screen, and you would need to work with one of those 3 groups in order to fulfill the initial requirement. And they would give a letter of support. One of these 3 types of organizations would give the applicant a letter of support, which is valid for 6 months. And within that 6 months, the applicant would go on to submit the application. And once the application is granted, the applicants are given PR status, permanent resident status in Canada. And this could eventually lead towards becoming Canadian citizens in some cases. But right with the PR status, you are able to enjoy a lot of the benefits that all of us enjoy in Canada, such as the social benefits programs and so on. And under this program, what's interesting is that you can have up to 5 owners or team members who can apply. So that's up to 5 members that can apply under this Startup Visa program. Now, each applicant must meet certain criteria that we'll talk about in detail later. But first of all is a Canadian language requirement. So you need to get a benchmark of 5 or higher in English or French in order to satisfy that. Second is that you need to show sufficient funds to be able to support yourself and your dependents for 1 year. So there's amounts that we'll talk about where you need to prove that you have in your bank account that shows that you can support yourself while you're in Canada, and also your dependents if you're planning to bring your dependents along with you. And of course, third, you need to show that you're continuously active as part of the management of the business, even after getting approved and gain the PR status. So this is essentially pretty much everything in a nutshell of how the Startup Visa program works in Canada.
That's a great information, Suresh. So next question I have for you is, what does startup business mean? How does it get incorporated in Canada?
Okay, that's a great question, Konesh. So I'll step a bit back and what does a startup business mean and how does it get incorporated? Because this is something that I work with a lot of my clients all the time. So a startup is essentially a company in the early stages of business. And at the early stages, you're trying to get the business off the ground. So most of the financing is done by the founders of the company. And in some cases, you may be trying to attract outside investments from friends and family or even external investors. Now, startups also need to consider about how they're planning to go to market, but also the legal structure that they're going to use. And these legal structures, there's various options, but a common one is incorporation. Now, business incorporations in Canada can be done at the provincial level or at the federal level. And once the company is incorporated, of course, the business would have obligations such as to pay taxes and also do annual filings to show that the company is active. And when incorporating, there's various things that, various elements that the founders need to consider. For example, they would need to think about who will be appointed as the directors of the company, officers of the companies, and shareholders of the companies, and incorporator. So the incorporator would be the registrant. So all these are the relevant information that you would need to think about in addition to figuring out where the business is going to be operating from, which will help you decide whether you should be incorporating at a provincial level or at a federal level. So this is pretty much in the basic information, but there's obviously a lot more thought that goes into getting incorporated that a lawyer could assist you with providing the advice on what's the best strategy for what you're trying to achieve in the short and long term.
Perfect. So the next question what I have is, how does a business qualify for a business immigration?
Again, that's a great question. So how does the business qualify? As I spoke about earlier, there are designated organizations that the government has approved. Now, these organizations do the pre-screening work for the Startup Visa program, and there's a list of them that you can find online. Now, these organizations are either an angel investor, a venture capital fund, or a business incubator. Now, if you're approaching, and you need to figure out which type of organization you want to partner up based on your requirements in terms of how you plan on building your business and what type of equity you're willing to give up and what type of support you require based on the business idea that you have. Different organizations or different types of organizations may be a better fit to achieve your goals and objectives, because it's not just getting the business immigration process, but it's also to help grow and succeed the business. So you need to find the right partner that works for you. Now, in the case of an angel investor, there needs to be a $70,000 commitment that is shown as part of this letter of support that they would provide. Now, if it was a venture capital fund, there would be a $200,000 commitment that has to be shown. But if it's a business incubator, there's no financial commitment that needs to be shown when they provide the letter of support. And as I indicated earlier, once you get the letter of support, you have 6 months. These are valid for 6 months. So within that 6 months, you have to make the application for the Startup Visa program. In addition to that, there's obviously other, if you follow a checklist that we can provide, you will follow other things such as medical exams and police checks and so on that's required as part of the qualification process for this application. Now, but the main things are which organization you're going for, and then the language requirements, which we will talk about, and the income requirement that you need. Not the income, basically the funds need to be available for you to show that you can support yourself. And this is pretty much the basics of the information that you need to be thinking about. And the whole process is another thing in terms of the timing. Under normal circumstances, it can take about 1 year to 1.5 years from beginning to end for the Startup Visa program. But obviously now with the COVID situation, everything could be delayed or perhaps even put on hold. So that's something to keep in mind, that things may be slower right now, but under normal circumstances, it's about 1 to 1.5 years from beginning to end for this process.
Yeah, COVID has done a lot on these applications, because I have my clients' applications working on, but it's been held for long time than the normal processing time. So We as professionals, we do say that we don't have the control on it. It's the government who's doing the processing, and they are the ones setting the limits on how long it's going to take to approve an application. So applicants has to have the patience to wait for it. I know it's not easy, but COVID, they will have to wait for it to get a response on that. That's pretty elaborate, Suresh, and I just want to like go deep into it on these, and I want to ask more questions. So, like, who will be eligible for business immigration? I know, like, everyone is interested to come to Canada, like either ways, whatever the streams fit in. But who is eligible to come to Canada, or who's eligible candidate for a Canadian business immigration process?
Okay, so there's two things to think about to answer that question. One is the structure of the business, and also what is the stake that you own. So each applicant should be owning 10% of the voting rights in the business that they're starting. And the applicant plus the designated organization, whether it's the angel investor company, the angel investor organization, or the venture fund, or the business incubator, must jointly hold 50% of the total voting rights. So each applicant, if there's up to 5, each one of them has to have 10% of the voting rights at least. And jointly, the applicants and the designated organizations must hold 50% or more of the total voting rights. Now, there's different type of qualifying companies that Canada would be looking for, but there's no specific that's listed. But basically, if you go back to the original mission of innovative and can create employment, and also the third goal of competing at a global scale, this can give you clues in terms of what are the different industries and sectors the businesses should be operating in. So for example, technology, clean energy, software and application, financial services, 3D printing. So there's a lot of these type of innovative companies that can compete on a global scale, and Canada has the ecosystems to support them, whether it's the business incubators or the angel and venture capital funds to support the growth and success of these companies. So these are the type of, just a few examples of the type of companies that would qualify for this program. And obviously, as I mentioned earlier, the company has to be incorporated in Canada at a provincial or federal level, and the business should be operating the core business in Canada. And I spoke about the percentage of the voting rights already, and those are the type of information that's important to keep in mind when looking at what type of companies would qualify for the business immigration program with particularly the startup visa program.
Great, great. So when we say about who's eligible, now comes the financial requirements. So what exactly the funds people have to have for the settlement funds they have to show to Canadian government in order to come under the business immigration?
Yes, the settlement funds is an important part. It's actually the amount that they require is probably on the lower end of what would actually cost for somebody to live in Canada. So the requirement is approximately $12,960 per person per year. And so this includes the applicant and the dependents that they plan to bring. So for each dependent, you need to show that you have that type of money per year at least. But in reality, the expenses could be a lot more. And this, you're looking to show pretty much how much money do you need to survive in Canada for 1 year to pay for all your expenses. Now, you should also keep in mind that these funds need to be in a bank account, and you need to provide a certified copy and contact information for your bank as well. And you also cannot show that you cannot have any loans or debts to take this money. So it needs to be in your savings, and you need to show that this fund is available to be transferred and brought with you to be able to spend in Canada while you're there. And when you're immigrating to Canada, it's important to keep in mind that any cash over $10,000 needs to be declared as well. So this is a settlement fund, and you can learn more about it. We'll be happy to discuss more, but it is per person, and including for each dependent, you need to show that you have approximately $13,000 per person per year.
That's great. That's more elaborative. And next comes about the language requirement, you were saying that people have to have a language certification through IEL for English or the French. Normally, for English, people do through IEL, GS, and CELPIP and French. So, what are the requirements for a candidate who's coming under the business immigration?
Yes, so when we talk about the language requirement, as you correctly say, the Canadian language benchmark of 5 or higher is required in either French or English or both. So this is out of 9, so you need to show that you're proficient enough by getting a score of 5 or higher. Now, at the same time, similarly, in terms of education, age, and experience, there's no specific guideline that's provided in terms of what education level you need to have. But you could assume that depending on the type of business you are trying to start, you need to show that you have relevant education, whether it's high school or more, to be able to start and succeed in that business. And age, obviously, you need to be an adult. And the experience level, once again, even though it's not stipulated specifically, you can assume that you should be able to show relevant experience that shows that you have the skills and experience to be able to succeed in the business that you're trying to start, because that's where they're going back to. That the Canadian government is looking for immigrant entrepreneurs with the skills and experience, with skills and potential also to succeed. So you need to be able to show that you have experience and education, and you meet the language requirement to be able to succeed in this venture.
Great. So you've been seeing a lot of businesses in this category, and what are the trends in business in Canada is making the business immigration an attractive option when compared to the other streams of immigration?
That's a good question once again, and in terms of trends, because I'm involved once again as part of business incubators, and I'm involved in running technology companies, and I'm involved in providing legal services for technology startups. And in the past, I have taught at the academic institutions as well in business. So through that, I closely monitor what are the different trends in business and technology in Canada, and I'm able to see that there's a lot more support that's being provided for technology companies, particularly software companies. And Canada is a service-oriented country, so financial services is very strong. So there's a lot of technology that's geared towards financial services as well, and pretty much any businesses related to financial services is also receiving a lot of support. So there's a lot of employment that's being created, a lot of innovation that's coming out of these business incubators, and also with the support of government programs. And there's various government programs that are available to support businesses in these sectors. Now, one thing to keep in mind that during the COVID time, I have seen through my practice that there's more entrepreneurial activities happening, surprisingly, because people are able to take the time, because a lot of people are in lockdowns and so on. Under these circumstances, they're able to think outside the box and think about what are the constraints we're facing today, and how could technology be used to leverage remote working and other opportunities like that. So it's really helping. My practice has been thriving because of entrepreneurs who are wanting to start new ventures in technology and also for financial services. So it's really promising that there's a lot of support for them, and there's a lot of entrepreneurs interested in starting new ventures. So I think there'll be more and more technology companies being started in Canada and also financial services sector. And both of this will continue to get more support from Canadian government and also the provincial governments and different organizations in order to thrive and succeed, because that will be important to create employment, and it will be important to rebuild, to strengthen our economy, given the turbulent times that we're going through right now with the pandemic.
Perfect. So do you see any policy change that will happen soon to help bring more people in this program to Canada?
Yes, I think towards the beginning of this pandemic, we would have noticed that there's a lot of sectors, whether it's PPE and also manufacturing and technology, that we're relying on external parties, other countries, and that put a strain on the pandemic put a strain on the supply chain, and it really hurt the Canadian citizens in Canada in many ways. So I think the government is very much interested in insourcing to be able to produce more technology and to meet our own needs here. So we have, if you follow the news, you see provincial government and federal government showing that higher level of commitment to be able to support businesses locally in order to do research and development and support our own needs in terms of PPE and other infrastructure needs going forward in case we have to deal with another pandemic or similar situation. So I think that that creates a conducive environment for supporting more innovation and entrepreneurship. And I think there'll be more policies to support. And as part of that, rather than outsourcing, I think there'll be more emphasis on trying to bring talent, bringing entrepreneurs who want to start businesses or buy businesses and grow them in order to keep the knowledge and build the businesses in Canada so that Canadian businesses can compete at a global scale. And that's what the Startup Visa program also looks at, like bringing new employment opportunities, which is needed to stimulate the economy, but also creating these businesses that are local, that can compete at a global scale. And that's something very important for Canada. And I think what I'm hearing from the politicians is that and policymakers is that there's a higher level of commitment. So I think it's going to stimulate the business immigration programs to a great extent in the coming years. And we're going to see more support and more entrepreneurs coming in to help build the Canadian economy to be stronger and resilient so that we can face any challenges as the one we're currently facing.
Yep, and Canadian government has increased the limit of immigrants they are expected every year, and they are working very hard to bring the talented people over here to support the Canadian economy. And I have no doubt about the business immigration. Definitely, there is a lot of requirements for entrepreneurs and people who want to start their career over here and start a business and grow from here. And the Canadian government is on full swing to support these companies. And we are reading this every day in newspapers and magazines. The government is trying to help people in multiple ways. And only thing people have to make sure is they understand the program correctly, because there is a lot of rumors around, there's a lot of speculation on these programs. People doesn't have a clarity about it. So whatever you are saying right now is more, it's enlightened and giving more information to people so that they make the right conscious decision on what stream they have to immigrate, or if they choose business immigration, how they have to do the process. The next question I have is, if a person start a business in immigration through startup, and what happens if that business collapses? Like after he comes here and the business doesn't go well, what is going to happen?
Well, obviously, when during the intake process, every business and every applicant is assessed to see which business and which applicant will be successful, who has the potential. That's why the program is looking for the skills and the potential to succeed. But obviously, the program doesn't guarantee or doesn't require that the business has to succeed. So even if it doesn't, for some reason, doesn't work out, the candidate will not be losing their status in any way. But of course, the screening process that's in place and the support. And that's why I think the Canadian government has done a great job at doing this pre-screening through the different organizations, such as the angel community and also the venture fund or the business incubators, who have the skills and resources and experience to be able to identify which businesses will likely succeed, and also provide the ongoing support to nurture these businesses. Because if you just have a startup without the support system, they are unlikely to succeed. But if the more mentors, the more support that you have, there's more chance to succeed. And that's why this pre-screening stage is very critical. And I think it's very important. And I really like that part of it. Will help, but it doesn't guarantee anything, because we, as a lawyer, as a business lawyer, and as an entrepreneur, and having worked at different incubators and currently running an incubator, I see that it's not every startup succeed, but it's important to, that's an important part of this innovation and R&D process where we provide the support and nurture them, but there's no requirement that they do need to 100% succeed once they accept it into the program. I hope it answers your question, maybe a little long, but.
No, that is what I want to say is because so becoming success or the business is not becoming success is not going to affect your permanent residency, because you are being taken and a client is being taken into the country based on his experiences, his expertise, and how he's going to do it, because business means it can go successfully or it might not. So, but that is not going to impact the permanent residency status of an applicant. So that is, I just want to make that clear because I have a lot of questions. People have been asking me on these status. Okay, I'm going to start a business. What is going to happen next if I don't succeed? If I don't find the right clients for my business? So it all narrows down to how strong you are, how well you prepared your business plan, and how you have processed it. So that will give you an upper hand when you make decisions on it. So that is going to conclude of the questions what I have. So do you have anything else to add on to this, Suresh?
Yes, I think maybe I could provide some general information once again. And I think in terms of when the applicants are considering this program or even Canada, they will be comparing to different programs available around the world. But obviously, I'm biased in saying this because I'm a proud Canadian, and Canada has been great to me in terms of supporting the businesses that I tried to start, but also providing the education and providing this ecosystem for me to thrive. But that being said, even though it's a biased opinion, but I think Canada is a great place for entrepreneurs to come and start a business because the government and also the various organizations and the people are great in terms of providing the support and nurturing that's required to succeed. And also, if you're bringing your family along, it's a great country to live and thrive. So there's many benefits that I don't need to really go into, which people would be obviously aware of. And generally, everybody's welcoming and in terms of providing the support that's needed. So, and this program is unique, it's relatively new, and it's good for business, business people, entrepreneurs to come and start a business. And Canada is really looking for that in order to stimulate our economy and compete at a global scale, particularly in the areas and industries that I described. And there's a lot of information that's available, but this process could be daunting. So make sure that you speak with professionals such as Konesh or myself if you have any questions, and we'll be happy to answer them. And we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have and learn more about the programs and compare with other programs that may be available. And if you're interested in applying, we'll be there to help you through the entire process. And you can also reach out to the different designated organizations to learn more as well. But we'll be happy to connect you with the various organizations that you may be interested in speaking with. So just do the homework, to do the research and speak with us, and we'll be happy to answer any questions. But other than that, thank you very much for having me here today, Konesh, and I hope that the audience enjoyed it. Thank you, everybody who was watching this, and over 400 people. That's a great event. In the first event that you're hosting, to have 400 participants, it's huge, and really, I appreciate the time that everybody spent to watch and listen to the information that we had to share.
Thank you very much, Suresh. That is what I want to tell people is we are here to help them and guide them to getting succeeded. And everyone has their own expectations on organizations in Canada. And there is a lot of people who are not regulated, who are not allowed to do immigration consultancy, are still doing in various countries. And our regulatory body, ICCRC, is trying to hunt them down and to emphasize the seriousness about the business and who can do this as a business. Like not everyone can do. So we are regulated. You as a lawyer, you have been regulated. I'm a consultant, I have been regulated. So this is a regulated industry, and people have to understand that this has to go through a proper series of process so that they are not being cheated. They are being given the right information. And as you mentioned initially in the interview when we started, that this is not a legal advice. This is just a legal discussion. Like we have saying about what is expected, what is the requirements in Canada for each programs. So please don't consider this as a legal advice. If you want to have more clear information on it, book a consultation with Suresh or me, and we will be more than happy to answer your questions so that uh, we are legally bound to give you the right answers when you register with us for the consultation process. And my 2 cents on this one is for immigration, always your intention. Just make sure your intention is right when you immigrate to Canada. You have to show the right intention, and documentation is key. So don't take chances in saying, "Oh, I don't have this documentation." Don't cook up documentation. Give the right documentation. Make sure everything is prepared really well. And as professional Suresh and myself, we emphasize on documentation. We make sure we check everything to make sure it is the right document, what is asked by the government. And any documentation, you don't have it in English or French, you have to get it translated. So these things are common for all the immigration streams. I just want to give those information also to people. And I'm really excited because this is something I didn't expect 400 people registering. It's actually 400, more than 400 people. So this shows the interest people have in getting the right information from right people. And I'm happy that I've started this session. And for the viewers, I'm telling you, like, we will be having more sessions like this, and we will have Suresh quite often with us to discuss on other programs in business immigration as well. So if you have any questions or any comments, as I mentioned in the starting, send an email to info at lodestoneimmigration.com. We will be posting all the information on our social media. Please do follow us in Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram on Lodestone Immigration Services. And Suresh has his social media channels as well. Please subscribe to his social media channels to get more updates, because we will be updating about what is happening in Canada, any change in regulations or any change in requirements, because immigration is a process where it keeps changing and you have to be updated on what are the changes and you have to act accordingly. As professionals, we get updates every now and then so that when you approach us, whatever the current trend, we will be giving you the correct information on this. So with this, I say thank you very much, everyone, for registering and watching us. And please do reach us if you have more questions. And I thank you, Suresh, for your valuable time, and look forward to talking to you soon in future with other immigration streams. Thank you and wish you good luck.
Thank you once again, Konesh, and thank you everyone for watching.